Wait. I have extras. Someone come fight me. Anyway, what is up, you guys? It's James from James Reptiles, back with another video. Today, we're going to talk about crested geckos, and this is just going to be a video about some things you should know before you get them. Let's start out. I'm going to take one out. I have a nice little girl here. Her name is Paradise. Perfect. The first thing I want to discuss, and I think the most important thing for any new person who's getting into the hobby, of course, crested geckos are an amazing first exotic animal. If you're getting into the hobby, or you maybe have an animal or two, or you have a bunch of stuff and you just want a crested gecko, one thing to note is males don't go together. And basically, males, if you put two males together, they will fight, they will hurt each other, they will draw blood, they can rip each other's arms off, they can do all sorts of damage. Along with that, a male with multiple females, or especially with just one female, can stress her out. She can drop her tail, he will try to breed her. You'll have babies, you won't know what to do with them, you'll end up spending even more money trying to take care of them. And it's just a big hassle, unless, of course, you're ready to breed. But that's another video. I have a video about that on my channel if you're interested in breeding crested geckos. Now, the problem with this is when you're buying a crested gecko from a pet shop or from a breeder, you're most likely going to get a male. And I don't know there's no exact percentage, it just depends on who's selling it to the pet store or the breeder that you're buying it from. If you're buying it from a pet store, you have a good chance of getting a female as well. It's closer, but if you're buying it from a breeder and you're just buying a random pet or from your reptile shop, it's probably going to end up being a male. And the reason for that is crested geckos have a 50-50 chance of being male and female when they hatch out. Now, the breeder wants females because one male can breed to multiple females, and so he needs a lot of females and only a couple males. So as soon as he's able to tell, this is probably a boy, boom, ships it off, sells it. Ships it off, sells it, all that. So it's better to have females, especially if it's something you want to get into and maybe you only want to buy one tank. So this is my extra chair, and this is the girl that's in there. You could house up to probably 3 females. I wouldn't do more than 3 in a tank like this. And if you wanted, you want to expand, you want to get more animals, but you don't want another tank, you have females, it's easy, just add another female that's the same size. They might not like each other at first, but they can definitely get used to each other. The problem is if you get a male, you can't really put anything else in that tank unless you're ready to start breeding, which if it's your first animal and you just want to get a female and stick in with it, you're not really ready to breed. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of education and dedication to breed animals. Now, that being said, a lot of times you will get a male. So they do sell tanks smaller than this, and that's fine for a lot of people, but I like to go big, so I get the big tanks. But if it's your first time, think about getting a female. Now, this next gecko that I'm holding, his name is Fellow. He is the second crested gecko I've ever produced. He's not very big. I haven't been doing it very long, but I do know a lot. I've done a lot of research. I've been in the exotic animal hobby for a while, and as you can tell, no, he's not very big. He's actually the second crested gecko I've ever produced. I haven't been in the hobby very long, but I haven't bred crested geckos for very long, but I've been in the hobby for a while, and I've done a lot of research. Now, one thing you can definitely tell with him is he's very jumpy. This is something you'll see a lot with pet store animals, and especially because they're not getting handled as much. Now, in his case, that's not the case. I handle him actually probably more often than most of my geckos just to try to calm him down, but it doesn't work very well. Crested geckos are arboreal, which means they like to climb trees, and their toe pads allow them to stick to stuff. That's why we put them in glass enclosures. They can stick to the walls and climb and hang upside down if they want. do whatever they want. But you'll get one that's really jumpy, and especially if you're new or if you have family and it's for your family, they'll all want to hold it. It can be scary when it jumps. Maybe you have a dog or a cat, it's ready to swoop. It's once you get used to it, it can be easy to predict, but it's not always. Not always. I've dropped him a couple of times already, and especially like he still has his tail, but it can be really scary if you go to try to catch him and you grab the tail, maybe he'll drop it. That's never fun. Of course, crested geckos don't grow their tail back, unlike leopards or fat-tailed geckos do. So it's hard to suggest one that's jumpy. If you go to the store and you hold it, you know it's jumpy. I recommend staying away from it. I've heard too many times of geckos that jump and the cat runs in, or it crawls under something because they hit the floor and ran. Another thing, when they hit the floor, for the most part, it looks scary. It looks really high for your gecko. They're not even fazed by it. I work with geckos all day. They drop on concrete floors from 6-7 feet in the air. They're fine. They rarely ever skip a beat. It might take them 2 seconds to get their wits together, and they're off. I've never seen one drop its tail because it's fallen. I've never seen one break a leg because it's falling. It's just not something that happens. What I have seen is a pregnant female, an ovulating female, a female that has eggs. When she falls, if she falls really hard right on her stomach, I have seen those eggs erupt inside of her, and she will produce two infertiles, or they might get stuck inside of her. That's something I've seen happen, but that's not something likely that you will have to deal with. So if your gecko is jumpy and you're fine with that, don't be scared if it hits the floor. Now, this last tip has to do with feeding. So you'll see a lot of stuff out there that says feed every other day, feed 3 times a week, and water twice a day, spray, all that fun stuff. But some of you may have a pet snake, you may have a pet leopard gecko, and you're getting your first crested gecko. Leopard geckos, you can feed once a week and check the water while you do it, and they will be just fine. Snakes, same thing. A lot of people out there have just one animal and one pet, and you check it twice a day, every day, and that's fine. You can do that. You can absolutely, enjoy your animal, look at your animal, do whatever you want with your animal. But if you enjoy your animal from a distance, like a lot of people out there, and you just check it when you have to feed it, and you let it do its thing for the rest of the time, you may end up leaving your snake or your leopard gecko alone for most of the week. Now, crested geckos are a little bit different. You can feed every 3 days. I wouldn't recommend it. I feed every other day. I feed Pangea. I've had Repassion in the past. I just think Pangea is a little bit better in price. But nevertheless, every time I feed, exactly when I feed, I miss the cage down, usually pretty heavy, and then I just don't do it the next day. I do it every other day, and every once in a while, maybe once or twice a month, I'll skip a day, and I'll go 3 days, and it just kind of changes it up. Now, a lot of people say to spray twice a day, every day. I don't recommend that. I think if you do that, you're not going to get enough water droplets unless you spray a lot, and if you spray a lot, you're going to be overspraying, and it's not going to get a chance to dry out. You want the enclosure to dry out, especially if you have degrowth at the bottom like I do. Otherwise, you're going to start growing all sorts of bacteria and mold and fungus, and it's just going to be a bad time. So these are my tips and tricks and all my knowledge. If you're about to get a crested gecko for the first time, make sure you watch this video and make sure you share it with someone if they're interested in them, or if you think that you can watch this video and they'll end up wanting one too, and you have a buddy in the hobby. I'm James from James Reptiles. Leave a like, a comment, subscribe. All that helps out the channel. Let me know what you think down below. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, jamesreptiles@gmail.com if you have any questions. And I really hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.